It has been a very hot few days. There's been like three heat waves in a row. It was like heat wave, then cool, heat wave, then cool, and then heat wave again. And yeah, this one was particularly bad. I think it got up to 33 degrees. And in England, it's just like very stuffy. And yeah, I don't usually have the windows open throughout the whole day because flies get in. But right now, it's like really hot that I don't care. But yes, I have to say, I bought another pillow. Guess what? It was £24 reduced to seven. Seven. They had a big pillow for £12, and I was thinking that these ones that I bought, I can't remember if I bought them last summer or the summer before that, probably the summer before that, but they've gone a bit flat, and I was thinking how uncomfortable they were. And then I saw a big giant pillow, and I was thinking that's £12, but it wasn't actually that soft. And then I came across this thing, and I was like, you know what, that's perfect, because when I roll, sometimes I roll off, and I can roll, and well, this time it catches me. So it's superly comfortable, and I like it. But yes, what happened? There's a lot of things that I don't know, and there's a lot of things that have been bothering me that I've been looking up online, and I want to talk about it, but I can't talk about it because I don't know the details. You know, how many people have come over into this country and claimed asylum and are getting free housing and free money and free this and free that? How many people are experiencing this? Because I don't know, but it's really bothering me, the fact that instead of them coming, claiming asylum, and then being like, actually, you belong in your own country, we're taking on too many people, we can't handle this, we're going to send you back. Instead of that, you're getting free housing, free accommodation. What's going? Is this true? Like, it sounds unbelievable. Why are they getting free housing, free accommodation? And is it something like universal credit, in which case they have to, they have to get a job and they have to pay their rent, and the universal credit is just to basically top up and help them pay their rent? If what they're getting is just like £200 a month to help them pay off their £1,000 accommodation stay or something, then that's kind of not the same thing. If people are getting universal credit, technically the money is actually going to the people who own the properties, and if a huge number of properties are actually only bought by people who have large mortgages, then technically the rent money is actually going to pay off the mortgages. And if the rent is paying off the mortgages, then technically the money that these people, the universal credit, isn't actually going to the people who own the houses. It's going to people who own the mortgages, or these high mortgages. I don't know, but I don't know the details. I don't know how many houses have more than 50% mortgage on their property. How many have a gigantic mortgage on their property, and who owns that money? I know banks take money from the trillionaires or whatever, and people who are way richer than Musk and all the other people that are supposed to be on the Forbes list. Basically, the Forbes list I see is just being a random list of people that Forbes company likes and says, you know what, we're going to make you the richest person on this list. When really, I think the real rich people are the ones that are hiding, because they're the ones that own the money in the banks. If you have a company that's worth a lot of money, technically you can only get that money if you sell your shares. And if you don't sell your shares, well, how do you know how much your shares are actually worth? Because maybe you won't get as much as you think if you sold all your shares. And even if you do sell all your shares, what do you get for having those shares? Like, I guess your shares increase over time, but do they? What kind of interest? I don't know. I don't know business. I don't know enough about business to really know. But I know that if universal credit just goes to help people pay off their rent, and if the only reason why the rent is incredibly high is because of all these bank loans, then technically the universal credit doesn't actually go to the people who own the houses. It doesn't go to the people who are renting out the houses. It goes to the people who have the big mortgages on these houses so that they can pay off their mortgage, and the people who pay off the mortgage technically are just the billionaires. So I'm trying to, I don't know the details on how many people own a house. I mean, technically you can say that giving there's people living in my flat that I'm renting out, and when we were charging £800, she didn't need to go to universal credit, and then she had two kids, and I guess the fathers walked off, and she managed to get universal credit, which is helping top up and pay her rent. But technically this rent is actually going to me to help cover for her to pay the rent, but technically it's going to me because I'm the one that's gaining it. So technically, is the universal credit actually helping her, or is it helping me? And therefore you know, there is ways of helping migrants, but if it's not actually helping the migrants, if it's just helping the migrants pay the rent, and if the only reason why there's rent on it is to help pay a mortgage, then technically the money's not really going to the migrants, it's going to the people who own the houses. So one could argue that, is it going to the migrants or is it going to the people who own the houses? I don't know, but I know that them being housed means that there's no, that house is not available for the regular citizens that are already living in the country, hence they're going to have to spend more money trying to find somewhere else because there's fewer places because of all this migration. I don't know what's going on when it comes to the numbers that are coming through every day. It's freaking scary actually to think that there could be like 200 new illegal immigrants every single day, and the government's solution is just to send them back and say, well, we'll take other immigrants instead. I mean, that's not a solution. That's just building up the problem, and because there's just too many people. England is nice when people have high standards and look after the place and don't trash and you know, make the place look nice, and when you start taking lots of people who come from a trashed up country, you know, the reason why their country is trashed up is because people like them are in it, and they might be the ones causing this trash, and therefore if you bring them over here, then they're just, you know, neutrals are a mess. There's you walk around and there's rubbish everywhere, and yeah, I definitely fear a lot for the whole of Europe, and I know I need to be very careful what I say. I know I'm getting very anti-Islamic, and I know I'm getting very anti-immigration as well, and I know that I need to be careful. I actually feel quite worried if I get a new client or if a number calls me. Weird sound. If a number calls me and it's not someone that I've saved, I start getting worried that someone's like read some post that I'm pasting on Facebook and is trying to give me death threats. You know, I do worry about that. I'm seeing more and more stuff online that's making me think that that over migration and illegal immigrants are, you know, a lot of these people are dangerous, and it's making me worry for my own safety about what I'm posting, and I have to admit that. But yes, it's not going to stop me from posting, but I know that I need to be careful what I say. I know that when it comes to my posts, I could probably get far worse and far darker, so I'm trying to keep it light. But yes, when it comes to the Epstein files, it is annoying me because everyone seems to be focused on the list being so important, whereas I don't see the list important. I see the crimes, or any crime that's reported. And, you know, if there's supposed to be hundreds of girls on this list, then how come I've only seen 4 interviews? Why is there not a journalism should be about finding the victims, or people that are saying that they're victims, interviewing them, having 50 of them saying, you know, these are 50 girls that we found who have got experiences, who are telling their real experiences. And from what I'm hearing, these people are going in there thinking they're just going to do a massage, and it turns into something sexual, and that's just how massage is. And okay, maybe they didn't know, and it might be wrong. It's debatable whether it's wrong or not, but it's not the worst crime in the world. And them gaslighting it by making out that there is no list, or just saying that, oh, we don't want to aggravate the victims, or I don't know what they're saying. They seem to be saying lots of different things, and none of the excuses seem to make any sense. But it's almost like there is a group of people who know that this guy was just offering massage to different people, and maybe some of the girls were underage, but they are finding it funny how the public is reacting so badly to it. I think the public is reacting so badly to it because they love the idea that there is a group of rich elite people who are pedophiles and who are having sex with children, and they love this excitement and the drama of this being a real thing, and therefore whoever knows that this is just okay, maybe he is a pervert, maybe that guy is a pervert, and you know, maybe that is true, but yeah, if there's videos of him with kids, I feel like it could literally just be him with a 17-year-old walking in and out of a building. I mean, that technically could count as him with a child, because child counts as 17, and that's not it's not pedophilia. You know, there's no crime walking. Well, you shouldn't have a massage with someone underage, but anyway, I just feel like whoever's playing this is enjoying just pissing or aggravating people by sort of waving something in front of them, being like, we've got information, but we're not going to tell it to you. We're going to keep it secret. No, there is no list. We know that this is actually just people who've had a massage, and we can't say that they're all guilty, but we're not going to say that. We're not going to be realistic. We're not going to give you a realistic perspective of what massage is like. We're just going to pretend that there is no list. And then people are asking, why is Ghislaine in prison if there is no list? Well, probably because she was getting 16-year-olds into massage, and that is kind of a crime. Does she deserve 30 years for it? I don't know. I like real journalism. Real journalism is where you find the hundreds of victims, you get them to give a 10-minute story of what happened to them, and then you put it all together. And it's the same with the Rovnil case and the rape gangs. I'm hearing so much focus on the rape gangs, and yet the number of stories that I'm hearing are very, very minimal. You know, there's that Robinson guy who's constantly going on about, you know, the fathers and how the fathers are trying to protect their kids, and they're not, and he goes here, but most of his focus is on the story about the fathers. It's not about the fathers. The fathers weren't there. The fathers don't know what happened. I want to hear the story from the kids who are no longer kids. You know, if someone's claiming to be a victim, you can't just listen to the story of the father, because the father was not there. And you know, if he's talking about the father going in to try and get his child out of a rape gang situation, and then the police come and they remove the father, well, if you're only hearing the father's perspective, then maybe the reason why the police got them to move is because actually the child was enjoying being in that situation, and maybe it wasn't a rape gang situation. Maybe the father's just going paranoid over what possibly is happening. And to hear the story from a third person's perspective is not the case. If the child is the victim or the girl is the victim, then you need to hear the story from the girl. And I don't trust files, I don't trust paperwork, I don't trust analysts going on about all the things. You know, even the couple of videos that I have heard about the Epstein case, you know, some girl is telling the story, and then you have some psychologist trying to explain the story in different ways, even though she was not there. I don't want to hear you weren't there, you weren't in the room, you don't know what's going on, you're trying to analyze this situation, whereas I think this girl is actually just trying to make money out of this situation. You know, wow, I've had such a horrible life, I was brought up in foster care, I had parents that were drug addicts who used to hit me, and my, you know, all the guys around the block thought that I was easy, or you know, doing all this horrible stuff happened to me. But oh wait, I have a story that I gave a topless massage to someone, to a rich guy, and you know what? The world seems to love me talking about this. I'm going to forget about all the million problems that I have in my real everyday situation, and I'm just going to focus on this story. Why? Because the world loves it when I talk about this story, because the world wants to hate this person, hence they want, yes. And then if there are hundreds of Epstein victims, then how come I've only seen 5 of them online? Like, is someone deliberately stopping their story from getting out? Has someone given them a wedge of money to shut up? I don't know. And I'm because I haven't done the research into these people, I can't talk about it. And the same with the Roswell case and all the rape gang situations. You know, I've seen a few online, and it did sound like there was a lot of harassment and you know, people almost, or guys assuming, oh, you're 12 now, you're ready to get married, you're of age, and there's lots of blackmail. You know, it does sound like that. I don't know how deep it went into, but if I'm hearing stories and all they're talking about is the father's perspective, the father is not claiming to be the victim here, it's the child. So I want to hear the victim's story, and I don't care about paperwork done by analysts who weren't there. I want to judge a story based on the story and the person who's claiming to be the victim. And it annoys me how people don't seem to look at the real evidence. They want to just look at all the drama and all the different things that media outlets are saying about the list. What does the list mean? What? So they were just people that had a massage? That means absolutely nothing. And yeah, and I don't know. I don't even know why. How many people are immigrants are getting like free housing, free money, free? Is this even true, or is this just people just trying to wind people up? They are winding me up. They're very successful at winding me up, but I don't know the facts about how can you just claim free money? How can you just say, oh, I haven't got any money, so can you give me some? I mean, I don't know. This world seems to be going mad, falling apart, and I, even though my uncle came over the last few days and he's just buying me lots and lots of stuff. My uncle came over and he bought me, like, on 2 days ago we had an omelette and a milkshake and a ginger beer, and then we had in the evening a chicken and chips, and then the following day we went into town and had a big giant roast meal, and then in the evening I was still full. He had another meal which I made him, plus he had a pudding and he was just eating constantly crisps, and then we went to the bar on one occasion and he wanted more as well, and ended up having like just loads and loads of stuff, spending a huge amounts of money on stuff. But and then I saw him like just get a whole bottle of water and tip it over his head, and then he was about to do the same with a second bottle an hour later, only that was the bottle that he bought brand new from a shop, so he's about to waste a whole bottle of water. And I told him, no, that's the one you just bought from the shop, don't do that. I don't know. He annoys me because I have been struggling with money more and more so over the last few months, and then to see him just be so wasteful with this, you know, when we were sitting on the park after having a giant meal with a pudding. He had a pudding, I didn't have a pudding, but yeah, he wanted to walk past the bar and he was like, oh, should I just go in and get a packet of crisps? You don't go into a bar to buy a packet of crisps just to walk out. You do not treat a bar like a convenience store. He didn't seem to understand. You pay 3 times more for a packet of crisps in a bar, so why would you go into a bar and buy 1 packet of crisps when you can go into a convenience store and buy 12 for the same price? So we went into a convenience store to buy 12, but he's so terrible with money, and it does wind me up, you know. Even though we went into the bar and we spent about £3 and there was like £2 change, he didn't like the fact that it was all change, so he just shoved it down at one of the charity shop things, and it's just it's annoying when you know someone's like never worked a day in their life, has no value for money, and it reminded me of the T-Wall, there's someone on one of the chats that I've been watching, TMC, was saying that you shouldn't give deers apples because it will prevent them from learning how to hunt. You know, if you give them lots of human food, they'll become they'll stop hunting, and they need to hunt and stuff. I don't really know what deers eat. I don't know what deers eat at all. But do they hunt? Do they even hunt, or do they just eat leaves? I don't really know. But my uncle reminds me of that. Like, you shouldn't give wild animals human food. Why? Because they need to live in the wild and they need to learn how to look after themselves. And I feel like my uncle has just been getting so much free money all his life that he now has lost his ability to think rationally and smart about how to spend. You know, money means nothing to him, so if he goes and spends £1.80 on a packet of crisps in a bar just to literally just buy the packet of crisps and walk out, so treating a bar like a convenience store, and buying a new bottle of water just to tip it on his head, and it looked kind of mad because it was just going all over his clothes and he just didn't seem to care. And it's just I like hanging around with him because he's company, but he's a reminder of how mad some people are in this world, and it's not particularly nice. But he was very, very generous, that's it. He was very generous, and I am now, I can't believe I'm still skinny. Actually managed to lose some weight. I'm trying to lose weight. Didn't help because he's been feeding me up with too much, but yeah, I think now that I've actually done a few clients recently, I'm actually losing a lot of weight because of the exercise. The exercise helps me lose weight. But yes, as much as I hate the job, I really, really hate it, but at the same time, it's nice having money, and if I weigh up the good and the bad, you know, it's a job that pisses me off and annoys me, but at least I feel like I have money, so I can afford a fish tank over winter, and you know, you need the money. Sometimes you do things you don't like to get money, and that's just how it is. And then to have people just completely ignore the good and the bad and just want to pick up on anything that's bad, just so they can like pick on people because they don't like them because they're rich or whatever. And I definitely think that Kirk, I can't even say his name, C-E-N-T, Kent, no, C-E-N-K, Kent, is it Kent? His name is Kent, I think. Yeah, I think he's definitely going mad on some of his perspectives, because he seems to be very very anti-Israel, and it's almost like spiritually he's becoming more and more against me and anything that I agree with, and he's starting to lose sense. You know, a good journalist does research into the facts, and if there's supposed to be hundreds of victims, you don't just go on about, of course these hundreds of victims are real. You actually talk to the people and you say, you know, I've spoken to this person, I've spoken to this person, this is real. And I don't trust the Tony Robinson guy completely, because I feel like his conversation seemed to focus on the father's perspective, even though the father wasn't the one claiming to be a victim. So there must be something real about that one, but I don't know, because I feel like there's so many people that are just gaslighting any story just for the sake of winding people up, because I think there's a lot of people that are just getting angry and frustrated by the stupid idiots that just want to believe anything and aren't interested in the details or the facts. You know, I don't give a shit about the client list. I want to know how many of those clients actually went with a 16-year-old, and how many knew that they were 16-year-old, and how many wanted extras. Did it not? Maybe some of them didn't want extras, and yeah, just to say that everyone on that list has had sex with a child, that's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. They want it to believe. I think there's a lot of people that want the Epstein list to just be a bunch of pedophiles that are rich and famous, because they like the idea of rich famous people falling and becoming like hated by people. And I think that's the thing that people love about the Epstein list, because they want to believe that there's a bunch of rich mass billionaires that are living in mansions that are going to have their names exposed, and then they're going to get pounded on by a bunch of people that hate child rape and stuff like that, and they don't care about the facts, they don't care about the details, they don't care about the age of the kids, they don't care about whether or not these people are lying or not, they don't care about if there is hundreds of victims or if there's only 4 and one of them is saying that there's 70 other people and not actually saying who those people were. You know, they don't care about the details. They just love the idea of these rich people no longer being rich and their downfall. It's like there's a need in society to just want to kind of like attack the rich, and I think that's the thing that people love most about the Epstein files.